the series of the great rabbis of yesteryear. Now we are on the 19th of Kislev, Yutet Kislev, marks the Hilula of a really great Tunisian rabbi. His name was Rabbi Shaul Mekikats Shelli, Zecher Tzadik Libracha, one of the great rabbis from Tunisia during the late 1800s, early 1900s, mid 1900s, respectively. A rabbi that will become great. He'll be proofread many great books, write many great Torah books himself. He'll become a judge, a dayan, a teacher, an educator, and a translator in various different languages in of itself. Let's explore some of the highlights of the great rabbi's life. Now, he was born in the English year 1887 in Jerba, in Tunis. And at that point in time, there was a very great Torah Jewish community over there. His father was a great rabbi, Rabbi Matok Shelli, happened to be a very great rabbi over there. While he was young, he would actually be educated under the auspices of another great rabbi we've spoken about before, Harav David Dido HaKohen, very, very great rabbi over there. I believe, in 1906, December 1906, he was close to 20 years of age. He would start working in the education sphere inside the Beit Midrash of Rabbi Chizkiah Peretz over there, which was a very prominent position at that point in time. It was, and he was still at that point in time, was just a teenager still, and absolutely phenomenal. He assistant within regards to teaching students over there inside the Beit Midrash, and I think he would also work along with another great rabbi, Rabbi Yosef Bar Ab, if I'm not mistaken, who happened to be another great rabbi, Rabbi Yosef Barevi, who happened to be one of the great rabbis of Tunisia of that specific era in of itself. He himself will become Rabbi Yosef Barevi, a great Rosh Yeshiva in Jerba, and also a dayan, and very much the head of the Jewish court over there. And after I think he passed away, he was appointed, Rav Shaul was appointed to become the Rosh Yeshiva. And there was many of the great people, many great Talmidim of Tunisia, of this Kehillah, this congregation of itself, that really, really looked up to him. And it was a time period where you could say it was a golden age of the Jewish community. And many of the great students, great scholars of the next generation were actually his students, included Rabbi Shlomo Mezuz, Rabbi Mordechai Segron, Rabbi Raphael Kadir Saban was another great rabbi. And these are just a few of the great rabbis over here. These are like the most incredible, gigantic rabbis of that specific era in of itself. So he had very, very famous students in of itself over there, which, let's say, has to be pointed out. There was also Rabbi Bogit Chaninya Saadon, who happened to be. And really, at that point in time, he was translating. There was publishing going on in Tunisia. While he was working, also he was also the chazan of the synagogue, and he would read the Kriyat Torah, be a shliach tzibur, which was also took a lot of responsibility and a lot of work in of itself, especially on Shabbats, on the Chagim inside the synagogues. I think he was actually working in all this sphere in the synagogue of Rabbi Chizkiah Peretz over there. All these different, let's just say, a lot of various different roles in himself. The synagogue itself was named after Rabbi Chizkiah Peretz. He served also as a scribe. He would write ketubot. He would write various different kodesh items himself, shtarot, documents, respectively. And I think he worked for the Bet Din for a 24-year period, if I'm not mistaken. He was appointed as an educator in himself, a Mora Hora'ah. And I think this was through Rabbi Kalfon Moshe HaKohen, another great rabbi we've spoken about on various occasions before. I think it's also Kis Hilula at around these few weeks, if I'm not mistaken. And twice a year, he would give like grandiose sermons inside a great synagogue of itself of Jerba. That will be the high time periods where people will, go at the peak, to listen and to get chizuk in of itself. And I believe we could state more stuff about the great rabbi in of itself, like he would give. I think on one Shabbat it was reported over before Rosh Chodesh Adar, I think, and also on the Shabbat before Rosh Chodesh Iyar, that was the time periods when he would give these grandiose sermons in himself. Now, I believe in the English year it was of, just double check, 1923. At that stage in time, he would have been about 36 years of age. Unfortunately, he suffered from some illness and various different illnesses at that point in time, from weakness and pain. And I think this was something that he suffered from for many, many years until he passed away later on in the English year 1969, if I'm not mistaken. He composed also many various different piyutim, very, very great amount of them, and various different songs in of itself. Remember, they would tie poetry and zmirot and song within regards to Torah and Judaism in of itself, especially in the northern African countries. So it was actually came from well-known Arabic songs in of itself. I think at the beginning he actually authored, one of the books that he authored was actually called the L'Chag HaAtzmaut, if I'm not mistaken, the L'Shem Ashim. That was the name of the book, which was published in Jerba. And over there he would actually compose a song called the Shir Atzmaut for the Medinat Israel in of itself, the state of Israel, which is very interesting. And I think that happened to be for the 5th of Iyar, naturally, 5th month of the Iyar. And I think the first stanza of 5 stanzas in the piyutim, and it was beautiful, beautiful piyut in of itself. Come what, I think the English year 1950, he will actually make aliyah and go to the land of Israel, but he will actually travel through the way of going through France, if I'm not mistaken. And eventually he will come to Israel and be in the Moshav, he will dwell in the Moshav of Bar Chia, very, very great Moshav in itself, I think actually situated quite near Ashkelon. After, I think, several years, he will actually move to another Moshav, the area of Shlomi, which is situated more in the northern part of Israel. And he passed away on 29th of November in English year 1969. Naturally, that was Yud Tet Kislev. In the Hebrew year, Hey Tav Shin Lamet. He was buried in the old cemetery, in the cemetery in Be'er Sheva, if I'm not mistaken. This was, I think, through his request in of itself. He was very close with many great Rabbanim, which we've mentioned about before. Now, he wrote great Torah books, and many of the books he would actually proofread. And many he authored. Let's explore some of the books that he authored himself. Midrasho Shel Shas. This was a great book on the Parshat and the Haftarot in of itself. I think this was divided up into 2 volumes. It was printed in Jerba. Then the L'Shem Ashim, which was printed also in Jerba. Then the Midrash Avot, which is based on Pirkei Avot, the ethics of the fathers, once again in Jerba printed. The Shemesh Umagen, which is Chidushim on Mesechet Psachim. I think this was actually printed in Jerusalem, if I'm not mistaken. Then the Karmi Shelli, which was Chidushim on the Shas, on Talmud Bavli in of itself, printed in Jerusalem. Then the Bayit Veshem, this was on the 5 books of Moses, naturally. I think that was actually printed in the Tivot, if I'm not mistaken, in Hebrew year. Hey Tav Shin Lamed Hey. Then the Bayit Hashem, which is Perushim on Musar, ethical teachings, as I say, on Masiyot. This was printed in Jerusalem in the year Hey Tav Shin Nun Gimel, which is very interesting enough, very, very powerful books. Some of it, I think, is works on the Gemara, on the various different tractates. I think they didn't actually make it to print. Somehow it didn't, wasn't published because maybe it was lost, I think, on the way to print, but I'm not 100% sure. Now, he proofread many books also, as well as he was a great author. Various different books he would proofread, including Kisei Rachamim, famous book from Tunisian rabbis, on the Tehillim in of itself, I think from Rabbi Rachamim Mazuz, if I'm not mistaken. Then Divrei Shmuel, which was Chidushim on Gemara of itself. Rabbi Shmuel Kamusa Kohen from Jerba, I believe, actually wrote that he would proofread it. The Hilchot De'ot, which is a book on the Rambam, which was a Targum, a translation in, I think, Arabic and for the Hebrew language, Shanat Amakim from Meir Lachman, if I'm not mistaken, or Lemon. I hope I pronounce his name. Really great rabbi. I think another great rabbi, and he was also a doctor, if I'm not mistaken. His great book in of itself. So he proofread many books, and he translated some books into Arabic also, which is very interestingly enough. We have to add on, I think there was a book from Rabbi Yosef Shabtai Farhi, if I'm not mistaken, which he would have translated, he would be involved with in regards to the translation of that in of itself, a Jewish Arabic translation of the work of, let's just say, the sale of Joseph in of itself. I think that would be published by the Or Torah institutions. I think he also translated some of the books of Rabbi Chaim Yosef David Azulay, the famous Skidah, into Jewish Arabic, let's just say, in of itself. So really, really great rabbi. It's his Hilula over here on Yud Tet Kislev. Don't forget to light candles in his memory. He passed away in the year 1969. We're talking about 55 years ago from the time of recording. He was a great rabbi. He was a dayan. He was a great author. Among his Talmudim included Rabbi Meir Yonah, Rabbi Raphael Kadir Saban, Rabbi Mordechai Sagron, Rabbi Shlomo Mazuz, Rabbi Bogit Hanina Saadon, really, really great rabbanim. These became the great rabbis of Tunisia during the 1900s period in of itself. He was buried in Beersheba. Please don't forget to light candles in his memory. Friends, we are a community here. Everyone subscribe to the channel. We are doing loads of videos. If you happen to be related to any of these great rabbis, please let me know. Drop me a comment. I would love to hear more. Wishing you all well. Wishing you blessings from Israel. Share the videos if you feel anyone will enjoy it, and take care.